Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the Douglas School Committee to order at 7 o'clock on April 26th. I'd like to read the Douglas mission statement. The Douglas Public Schools offer a diverse learning experience that meet the academic, social, physical, and emotional needs of all students. We provide a safe, supportive, and challenging learning environment in which students may achieve academic success and personal growth. Decisions are made in the best interest of our students. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We don't have a student representative this evening, so I'm opening it up for public comment. Seeing that there is none, I'm going to open it to any old business that we need to go through.
Do not.
We're going to go to new business, and we're going to go out of order so that we can get our to the consent agenda. And we're going to bring forth the Douglas Middle School grade 8th grade out-of-state field trip to Canopy Lake Park. If you could come up here, please.
The 8th grade would like to take a field trip to Canopy Lake Park as a culminating middle school event. We are planning on going June 15th, 2023. The park is located at 85 North Policy Street in Salem, New Hampshire. It will take approximately 1 hour and 15 minutes to get there by bus. We will be leaving from Douglas Middle School at 7:30 a.m. and returning at 4:15 p.m. All students will be required to ride to Canopy and back on the buses provided. Parents will pick up their children at 4:15 from Douglas Middle School. We will be reserving 2 coach buses from FTI Coach as soon as this trip is approved. Tickets will be ordered as soon as this trip is approved, and the final ticket number will be finalized upon arrival.
The cost of admittance to the park will be approximately $29 per person. The total cost of the buses is $1,075. There are additional funds available for any student with financial hardship. The cost per child will not exceed $40. The student-to-chaperone ratio will be approximately 10 to 1. We will be meeting with all chaperones prior to the trip to explain their responsibilities the day of the field trip. The students will check in with their chaperones every 2 hours at a centrally located place, which will be a restaurant by the water. A nurse will be located at the spot throughout the day.
Do you have any questions?
I'm glad to see that we have normalcy back. Canopy Lake is just a fun event for the 8th grade class. It's like, you're right, before you guys go off to high school. So I'm so glad. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
So, anyone opposed for them to going? All right, you're good to go.
So,
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
We need to make a motion.
sorry about that. So I move to approve the middle school 8th grade out-of-state field trip to Canopy Lake Park in Salem, New Hampshire on Thursday, June 15th, 2023.
Motion made by Teresa, seconded by?
Julie?
Second by Julie. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Thank you so much. Have fun.
Have fun. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Okay, now going back into our agenda, as per described, we're going to turn it back over to the superintendent's report, please.
All right, just a brief update on the FY24 budget.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Courtney and I were working as we built the FY24 budget of an appropriation from the town of $15,065,318. That was the premise we were working under as we built the budget. You know that even at the 11th hour, we were still cutting $750,000 to get down to that amount. 2 days prior to our public hearing, we were made aware that the number going forward for the town for our appropriation was actually going to be $14,731,424,000, which was a delta or a difference of $333,894. So that came as a shock, and I presented that when we had a public hearing on April 5th. At the FinCom public hearing on April 11th, the recommendation from the Finance Committee was that bottom line number of an appropriation of $14,731,424. However, at that meeting, there was an agreement to collaborate between the school department and the town administrator and the town finance director to look to see how we could collaborate for the town to find funds to fund either all of or part of the 333.94 at the fall town meeting. So what we're going to do, we meaning Ms. Keegan, is she's going to unfortunately pull from our reserves and fund that 333.894 in order to make sure we don't have to cut any staff or any programming. We're working with the town administrator and the finance director to find out some different mechanisms and ways that we can do that. We've already had 2 very productive meetings. We had one the day after on the 12th, we had one on Monday, and we have one next week. The goal is to probably by mid-June come up with a plan of how it's going to be funded, what it's going to look like, what the number is, get it in writing so that both sides have it and know what we're looking for, and then figure out our strategy for what fall town meeting looks like. But the goal is to move that money into our budget so we don't have to move the staff. So that's where we're at with the FY24 budget. I know Ms. Keegan had a couple of things, and we'll open it up to questions.
Yeah, I just, I will bring to the school committee the updated budget. So basically, we'll be using more school choice to just bring it down to that appropriation amount. So we will bring it, so at least we'll have that to start off in July. We'll just approve that additional budget, and then we'll go from there. So I'll have that for the next meeting.
Okay.
I know I talked really fast and said a lot of numbers I've been looking at for the past month, so if people have questions, please feel free to ask.
So I just want to have some clarity. So we are not cutting staff for next year.
We are not cutting staff for
I just
next
want
year.
that to be clear to everyone. Okay. And the next thing is what reassurance of that this is going to be, what is decided on now between the school district and the town is what is actually going to transpire
We'll get it in
when we
writing.
say it's going to transpire.
So when we get to that time, we'll get it in writing. Right now, the assurance we have is at the April 11th meeting, there was an agreement with the finance committee there, the school department there, on camera.
Selectmen were there.
The selectmen were there in meeting minutes that the town would work with the schools to help fund all or part of the 333.894.
Which would be a recommendation at the special town meeting. Of course,
Correct.
it would be up to the town meeting voters to approve it. Just to be
But so
clear.
if something changes on the town side, I mean, this could still be in flux, right? Is that correct?
I don't expect that to happen, as,
Okay.
you know, we did have a
I
whole.
don't expect that, but
But
we need some,
notwithstanding.
we need some assurances as a school district that
agree.
we are not going to be in a real difficult position, because we can't afford that.
We can't.
No.
And like,
No.
it was,
That's
the
for
statement
sure.
was made on camera.
Yeah.
We've had 2 meetings with
Yep.
with myself, Ms. Keegan, Jean Lovett was there, and Matt Wojcik was there. And the conversation is, how can we fund and what can we do to fund the 333.894? And there's just been some conversations. Again, rehashing what happened in the fall, in the early winter, through emails, having those conversations, talking a little bit about that number, talking a little bit about negotiations. But we need to have those conversations to be able to move forward as to developing a plan for how the town's going to fund that 333.894. So we had 2 preliminary meetings. We had one, like I said, the day after the Finance Committee meeting. I was a little aggressive with my 8 o'clock start time. I think we did at 10:30, and we just talked things through. We spent some time on Monday looking at the teacher salary grid with both Jean and Matt, and just kind of getting an understanding of that and talking a little bit about that.
Very preliminary.
Very,
Because it's really
very-
at our next meeting that we'll get into more. But again, I really don't feel, you know, at this time, I mean, I think that, you know, everybody was involved in that conversation. I don't think there's any reason to believe at this time that there won't be a concerted effort to,
I have no doubt
Move
about
forward
that.
in the
It's
fall, yeah.
that there's uncertainties always, and, you know, when something breaks, suddenly we have to change our thinking to accommodate that broken piece that was unexpected. So I just hope that that's being considered in the talks, and that if there's a plan put in place, that regardless of where the winds blow down the road, that our school district is still going to not be impacted.
And as I said, we'll get that in writing. iron it out. We still haven't got to the point as to what the funding mechanism is, and that's something for them to discuss. What the dollar amount is, we'll have to have those conversations. And again, this isn't something that happens in a quick 45-minute long meeting. It takes some time to have those conversations. They're looking at different, go ahead.
And then in June, we'll be meeting with the Finance Committee again
Yeah,
as
either,
well.
either the 13th or the 21st.
Yeah, I forget, yeah, I forget that now.
One of those 2 days,
One of
we're
the
going
2
back to the
days.
Finance Committee to have a follow-up on it, so.
And I will
fairly
just say
confident.
this from the town side, if something, God forbid, were to happen, that the taxpayers, the residents could put on town meeting floor fourth from free cash. Free cash is not certified right now from the town side. That's why they're not able to put that forth for this town meeting. So there's another way to go
Another
about it and do
mechanism.
it. So, I mean, if the worst-case scenario came, there is a mechanism there for the residents to come forth and put forth to the town moderator, forth a movement to utilize free cash to make us whole again.
And just to piggyback off that, part of the discussion is, we obviously want that added to our bottom line forever. Free
Yes.
cash is a one-time funding source.
Correct.
So if it had to come from free cash.
For the one time.
For the one
One
time.
time.
that's
It
'Cause then
doesn't-
what's the discussion for?
Right.
But you'd have to go
Yeah.
for next year's budget thing, you'd have to have your base increased. So, I mean,
Right.
there are multiple ways, but if Courtney's not freaking out, I'm not freaking out.
And new growth
One
will.
step at a time. We want to make sure that we
Right.
have ample time for the conversation, because actually having those conversations and working with the town will put us in good stead for moving forward with maybe some different procedures so that this doesn't happen again as well. So, and that's why I want to make sure that we have that collaboration, the conversations, and move forward.
Just for clarification, though, that's not the 4 proposed positions that we wanted to add to the budget. This is just to
Yeah.
Keep the status quo.
Current
Current staff.
is not to add those 4, like the facilities.
Correct.
Okay.
The 333, if we had to eliminate the 333, it would have been 6 to 8
Staff.
staff members that
That
are
we currently
currently,
have.
that we currently have. And those would have had to have been eliminated. Because we've now had that, as a result of that meeting with the board, with the Finance Committee on April 11th, we have that agreement that we're going to work collaboratively to fund that 333, 894, so we do not have to cut staff.
But we still, which is great, and I'm appreciative of that stuff, but we still have 4 positions that we desperately need in our district.
We
To
have
the-
more than 4 positions that we.
Right.
But those were the 4 that were proposed.
Proposed.
It was the adjustment counselor. At the middle school, it was a special education Stars and Stripes teacher at the high school. It was a STEM teacher for pre-K through 5, and it was the facilities/custodial position. So those were the 4 positions that we talked about.
And
Grounds, and, yeah.
And roughly, what would those positions?
225.
Yeah.
A good point. I mean, that is something, a good thing to remind people that even though we have the situation, even getting that money, we still had to reduce $754,000 worth of things, and it included the new positions, it included all of the textbooks, did not allow us to have any more purchases of iPads that we need as well. So we do want to keep that in our mind, so thank you for reminding us of that as well, because we're kind of honing in on just where we are and to kind of keep, but, you know, we do want to be cognizant of that as well, because, you know, I wouldn't say this unless I didn't wholeheartedly and sincerely mean this. We do not prepare a budget in Douglas, and never have, and never been able to. There's nothing highfalutin in our budget. It truly is a needs budget. The superintendents propose, and we always know we have to reduce it, but I really feel very strongly that you should never come out of the gate with just proposing what the appropriation number is, because then, really, in all honesty, then we're not informing the Finance Committee, the Board of Selectmen, or the taxpayers, or the residents, or the parents, what our true needs are. And that would be our fault if we didn't do that. That's why we always, we propose a needs budget. We explain why we need those things. And then, yes, if we have to cut back, but at least we've informed people of what the needs are, and then we go from there. So I think that's very important.
probably somewhere on around the end of end of March, beginning of April, I was working on an FY25 document to bring to the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee, already looking ahead for FY25. I had to put a pause on that as this happened, but just some things on there. Are those 4 positions that we desperately need? We've always funded through the operating budget, computers, laptops, Chromebooks for the high school. We were fortunate in K through 8 as a result of COVID and ESSA funds to purchase Chromebooks for K to 8 students. Those Chromebooks are now 3 years old. Next year, they're 4 years old and they've hit their life expectancy. In order to purchase, we've been working with Mr. Calabrese, in order to lease Chromebooks for pre-K to 8 on a 3-year cycle, we have to add about $75,000 to $80,000 to our base budget. That's in there as well. The end of next year, our 3-year contract for DESPA, custodians, and cafeteria workers expire. So sometime probably in January of next year, we'll be negotiating those 3 contracts. So those are all things to think about as we look for FY25. I mean, it just scared anyone away.
No,
It's
but,
Well, I mean, that's what I
We're
mean.
not even done with FY24, and we're already thinking,
Facts.
what do we need for
no,
FY25?
I think it's just, I guess, as a mom, as a community member, and as a school committee member, like, I think it's important that we cannot afford, our students cannot afford us to lose any staff. Our buildings can't afford that, but I also think it's naming that out loud, that we know that our students and our staff need these additional positions and these additional resources is just really important to just keep talking about, because our kids deserve them.
They do.
And the other thing is, too, with all the conversations that we had with both the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee over the past 3-4 years, it was all about moving the district forward. But it takes funds to do that. And part of that moving the district forward is not only the programs, which require staff, it's all the materials to go with it, keeping up with technology, all those things are a holistic approach to your whole public school programming to be competitive with other public schools, not just the BVT, Norfolk Aggie, and school, but other public schools as well. Because
And just to be
there's a such
competitive
thing
in
as
the
school choice
workforce.
out as well, so we don't want to,
In the college application fields, to be competitive. I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth, is that we have to be thinking that way. The town needs to be thinking that way, and it is going to cost money, but we have to plan for that, because that's the world we live in.
Right.
It's the 21st century, and it requires, and I know you've heard me say this before, 21st century education. It's Chromebooks, it's technology, it's programming, that's more than just math and reading. I mean, we need to be thinking like that.
absolutely.
It's professional development for staff and how to,
Many things.
absolutely.
how to do things,
Right.
how to do things differently. It's the
Yep.
collaborative. I mean, anyone who's taken a tour of college campuses recently, they're redesigning spaces into these collaborative workspaces. They have whiteboards everywhere to think out loud. It's teaching kids to use things differently and think differently. One of the things that's big out there now is the whole ChatGPT and the whole artificial intelligence, and how are schools going to start incorporating that or banning that into the school system. We just got a email from the superintendent's attorney that as part of our summer institute, that's going to be a big topic as to what can we do with artificial intelligence. If anyone's played with ChatGPT at all out there, it is insane.
It is.
It is
A little scary.
insane what can be written on there.
Yep.
So it's,
Just give them some thoughts and it goes and writes a
And it
paper.
goes in
How many,
like-
what level do you want it at? And I mean, boom.
but we can say, we don't need to use it, we don't need to use it, we don't need to use it. At some point, you have to start finding a way
You have to
to
embrace it.
incorporate. I was talking to an English teacher at the high school, and they always had kids write out their bibliographies and everything. And they got to the point where there are so many computer programs out there that just do it for you as long as you know they finally said, you know what? That's something I need to let go of, because there's all these programs that you just hit in 3 or 4 parameters, boom, it prints out. Kids know what a bibliography is and all the parts of it, but that exercise that we all went through when we were in high school and college of comma followed by period, followed by 3 spaces, followed by period, that's gone. It's gone. So it's, but that takes professional development, that takes time, that takes resources, it takes IT work too. So you're right. And, you know, Courtney and I have this conversation. We can't be happy with mediocrity. Our kids don't deserve it. Our community doesn't deserve it. Our staff doesn't. And in order to be better than average, which I think we are, we need the resources to be able to do that.
There's still a fair amount of us who went to the schools and are here raising our kids too. Like Douglas has a strong investment.
It does.
Like the residents have a strong investment in their community. I came back to raise my kids here because I love Douglas.
And that's my FY24 budget update.
Any questions?
And a little bit of pontificating from all of us, which is important.
Yeah.
So moving on to the superintendent's evaluation report. I compiled with all the information input that I got from the school committee members, and this is an overarching of everybody's input. So in step one, your professional practice goals, your student learning goals, and district improvement goals. We all rated you as you met that. In step two, it's the standards that we picked over the summer when we all met. These are the standards we all agreed to, and we all found, when I put everybody's input in, we rated you as proficient. And so I'm just going to read the comments of everybody's I put together. So I've taken the comments of all the school committee members and incorporated our thoughts into each section as we reviewed each standard. The overall summation performance is an average of the 5 school committee members' input, which the school committee chair compiled to put together this assessment. The overall rating was proficient, and some comments from the school committee's thoughts were, while there have been continued emphasis on social emotional learning, equity and inclusion across the district this past year, there is still room for improvement. Some notable achievement areas are the focus to increase student outcomes with prioritizing data collection regarding students' achievements has been positive to determine where students need the most support and how the district can best support individual students' growth in language and math. The difficulty in the special education department is one area this year that should be highlighted as Dr. Vera's strengths as well. Anytime any of the school committee members brought forth a situation, he always would follow up and inform a school committee proactively. Finally, the Douglas School District is still adjusting from a post-COVID posture, and Dr. Vera's shared vision for the district continues to make strides, even with the staffing challenges that have been encountered this year. Allowing Dr. Vera to guide Douglas School District by continuing to foster collaboration with all the stakeholders will direct Douglas Public Schools into the future it deserves. So, any questions on that part thus far? The next is we're going to go into the individual goals and the performance goals. Obviously, I already told you how you met in each one of the performance goals, the practice goal, and the district improvement goal that we had. You all met there. The other one is the district improvement goal. You met there, and it's interesting. For those at home that can't see this, we'll have this posted. But the student learning goal, the professional practice goal, and the district improvement goal were all the same. It was instructional leadership. District goal number 2 was management of operations, where we thought environment was a priority. And district goal number 3 was family and community engagement. That was 3, and number 4 was professional culture, which is continuous learning, and he met all of those goals. For number 1, I'll just read some of the comments that we got. The overall rating was proficient, and some comments from the school committee members' thoughts were, Dr. Vera holds his staff and administrators to a high standard and is on top making sure they align with state regulations, union and non-union contract provisions. Some notable achievements areas are the focus to increase student outcomes with prioritizing data collections regarding students' achievements has been positive to determine where students need the most support and how the district can best support individual student growth in language and math. The difficulty in the special education department is one area this year we would like to highlight Dr. Vera's strengths as well. Anytime the school committee brought forth a situation, he always followed up and informed the school committee proactively. So that's goal number 1. Goal number 2 is the environment, that he was proficient. And here's the comments and how we came to a proficient. Dr. Vera has taken the physical safety of the school committee very seriously. This has been demonstrated in the collaboration of multiple town departments to secure our school's infrastructure. Kudos for having positive additions of bringing back families into our school buildings to celebrate children's successes. Student of the Month, lunch with families, and the continuation of parent-teacher conferences via Zoom. Some of the areas of a concern continue to be the lack of a school adjustment count that is sorely needed in the middle school, but due to budget constraints, this position is not funded in the FY24 school year. If the budget constraints in FY24 improve, i.e. funding becomes available, the SUP committee would like to have this position funded. I know this is one of the 4, but this is really, I think, one of the ones that is the key one. We've heard it throughout the year. There have been many challenges the district has faced. Dr. Vera has demonstrated somewhat of a reactiveness versus a proactiveness to challenging situations, which in turn cause stress to the students, staff, and family at times. However, this is due to extenuating circumstance where his focus has been shifted due to challenging administrative staffing issues he has worked this past year. Also, looking to have more emphasis and priority should be placed on positive, effective programming during morning meeting, homeroom time in particular. Some would like to have some more walkthroughs to monitor the progress in the school year, and increase efforts to differentiate instruction between instruction would be recommended for improvements. That is goal number 2, where you are proficient. Any questions on this one? The next one is the superintendent's for engagement, and that was proficient, and here are some of the comments that we got from the school committee. Dr. Vera communicates with the community and stakeholders in a variety of ways. Great success this past year in seeing the carnival night at the elementary school and the 6th grade orientation in getting community involvement back in. Some recommendations are to further develop the creative ideas to engage families and students to the greater Douglas community during and after school activity. After school day would create richer experiences for students, whether virtual or in person. Local field trips, example, Fire Stadium, Douglas Orchards. So there's that one. And then finally, the continuous learning, where it's proficient. And here are some of the comments from the school committee. Dr. Vera has challenged his staff to embrace an I wonder culture and to be curious about their own practices. He is able to model using current research and best practices to continuously adapt his practice to improve results. The staff appear to have a work environment which is reflective practice, and current research-based methods are nurtured. So that is the superintendent's evaluation. I thank you all for taking the time to get me the feedback in a timely manner so I could get this closed out. So I have signed it, Dr. Vera has signed it, I will hand it back to Courtney so we can get this put on our website too, but this is the formal documentation that needs to be done. Are there any questions on this, Dr. Vera?
I just want to say thank you to the committee. As I said when I presented my goals, with Cindy started the bar, she raised it high and said 100%. And we said, let's not settle for mediocrity. And I'm grateful to have a committee that allows us the ability to set those goals a little higher and not work for mediocrity. It's always an interesting part of this job, this position, where most of our evaluations are always done in private, where this is such a public and open and transparent process. So I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate the support. You're spot on some of the stuff. There is there's work that needs to be done. And I think that's one of the great things about this profession, this calling, this work that all of us do in education. If it was done, it'd be easy. Every year is different. Every year is a new challenge. Just when you think you have it figured out, people resign, people quit, money
Pandemic.
changes, things happen, and you just have to hit the curveball. And I think a few have asked me, we've had this conversation, like, how do you expect? You just have to know to expect the unexpected, and you hope to really just minimize it so it doesn't have a huge impact and take up so much time. But as Ms. Keegan and I were saying, from basically the Monday after February break through the Friday of April break, those 2 months were consumed between special education and the budget, and that's what we did for 2 months, and it was all consuming. And when I came in on Monday and I started organizing my desk and doing some work, there was a moment of, I don't want to jinx it, a moment of calmness where I'm like, I might have time to do stuff. And it was kind of exciting, but I was kind of waiting for something to happen. But we're moving in the right direction. We have, I think someone said 35 days left between now and the end of the year. So it's a lot of good things. One thing I'm going to put forth on our next agenda is to look at doing another summer retreat.
Absolutely.
It'd be great for all of us to do. I think I'm meeting with administrators the second or third week of July, so we can either do it before or after. But I think it was good for us to talk about goals. It's good for us to talk about goal setting. It's good for us to pick something. So I'll throw some dates and get some ideas out when we meet again in May.
Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate the help and support.
I just want to say, I hope, and I hope we tried to be helpful, I think,
You
with
were
the
very
comments
helpful,
too.
yeah.
And I know that last year's evaluation, I saw a lot of this, in this year, reflection on that. So I appreciate that. I have no doubt that next year, we're going to see, hopefully.
We'll keep
if-
moving forward,
If everything
everything.
lets us do that, that we're going to see you kind of take this and think about it and bring some
And we're
great
going to
things for next
continue
year.
with that MTSS focus. We've done some work with that. We're going to continue, and I know people hate the word data and using data, but you have to do it. It's how you make changes. And I think, not to hop on the primary, but Cindy's been a prime example of what happens when you look at data, analyze it, sleep on it, come back, look at it. It's how you start seeing movement and growth. And the other schools are doing it as well, but I know Cindy's really hit the home run. And she's had the luxury of being here in the district for, I'm going to say more than 15 years, but being in that building for more than 7. A little bit more. I know, I'm trying to be, and being in that building for 10 years, once you have longevity in a building and you've established relationships, there's a lot more you can do than if you're in year 1, 2, or 3 in a building or in a department or in a school. So I'm excited for where we're going to go next year, but we still have to finish strong this year, too.
Absolutely.
And isn't it nice, I'll just leave with this, isn't it nice
I know
that
what you're gonna
this
say.
year, that, isn't it, like you said with the kids going in Canterbury, like, isn't it nice that we're talking about and doing things like we used to? And we don't mention that word.
We really don't talk about it
It's so
anymore.
nice. Yeah,
It's
we don't
really
even
nice.
recognize that anymore. Isn't it nice, like, we're really starting to feel like the momentum of the normal?
A sense of normalcy is
Yes,
always.
yes, which is wonderful.
Thank you. We'll get that posted, too.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add, Dr. Vera?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, moving on to the school committee and subcommittee reports for accounts payable.
There's just one. Warrant 41 SCH 23 and 41 SCH-L 23, warrant date 4/6 and 4/7, total of 7 batches, a total dollar amount of $306,768.84. I signed and had no concerns. This next one, I think, was yours, Heather. Yes, it was.
So warrant number 42 SCH 23 and warrant 42 SCH L 23, a batch of 11 in the amount of $72,507.31, and there was nothing out of the ordinary with this. Next, moving on to the consent agenda. If everybody could review the August 5th meeting minutes.
I just had one thing on these, on the transfers and reclassifications. Reclassification number 9, I had to abstain from that one.
So make sure that we, okay.
And I'm pretty sure Heather was here at that meeting, and so it says Ms. Salvis made the motion to open budget public hearing? Right, is that,
I was here.
you would have done that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so Ms. Moran would have been the one to open the budget hearing.
So if we can make those changes, but we can still approve the meeting minutes. So I'd be looking for.
As amended, yeah.
As amended. So be looking for a motion?
I move to approve the school committee meeting notes for April 5th, 2023 as amended.
Motion made by Beth, seconded by?
Julie?
Seconded by Julie. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay. Next is the student rights and responsibility policy update. This is the second reading.
And I just included the, because I noticed in the packet,
Yep.
it had the backup in there. So this is the second reading, but I did include the April 5th agenda item summary.
Yep.
So again, this is just a requirement that we put forth, and if approved after the third reading, we will incorporate the languages in that agenda item summary as number 6 to the JI Students' Rights and Responsibilities Policy. Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
Anyone have any questions? Okay. Moving on to the Innovative Pathway Grant.
The Innovative Pathway Grant and the SEL Screener Grant Coordinator, we're going to pass on until the May meeting.
Those are passed. So it's not listed as on here, but we're going to do a search committee update for the new special ed.
Absolutely. So I am chairing the search committee for looking for a new director of special ed and student support services. We are having our open meetings via Zoom tomorrow. So please join us. We would love the town's input, parent, town member. There's meetings, please come. We definitely would like the input as to what people are looking for. And then additionally, we are looking for volunteers to serve on the search committee that will be going through the initial applications as well as doing the initial interviews before we pass candidates up to Dr. Vieira to make the final decision.
And-
So, I was
Go
going to say, so if you are interested in that, please email me, tbrooks@douglasps.net. We are looking for parents, we are looking for community members, teachers. We are looking for you.
Yeah. And one of the things that's important about, and if you can't attend, there's also a link for a survey.
Absolutely.
One thing that's important about the community input, staff input, administrative input, is they're going to take that input, that's one of the things that NASDAQ does, and they help to create a candidate profile. So if the community, if they're hearing overarching themes about someone who builds programs, and that comes through when they do the surveys, that comes through when they do the
Great communicator, whatever it
whatever
is the community really.
Once they start screening candidates, they're going to make sure there's something in there about building programs. And then when we have our first meeting, which I believe is next Wednesday or Thursday, as you're going through developing questions, the questions will be based off of the input that comes from the community meeting, the staff meeting, the parent meeting. So it's really important for people to attend that, because that's your voice to help guide how we build the candidate profile and how we ask the candidates the questions in that first round of interviews.
Yes.
Dr. Vieira, will you be picking the applicants, or will the
I
screening?
am nowhere near the first
Yep.
few rounds of the thing.
Okay.
So all I'm doing is, Teresa and Mike Palladino, who was here at the last time, have emailed me stuff. I do as I'm told. Paul send this email out, I send it out. I haven't seen the applicants, I don't know the applicants.
That's why it's vital, if you're interested,
Yep.
to absolutely please email, because we will be doing the initial interviews and forwarding
Have their
our-
hands on the applications before you,
Yes.
Correct.
with the company that the district is paying to do that.
Correct, so what'll happen is, I don't have, they posted on School Spring, I don't have access to the School Spring account. With that candidate pool, what'll happen is on May 3rd, with that initial screening committee, they'll go and they'll bring forth the 15, 20 applications that are complete. And then through the information, through the candidate profile, through the information that they've developed, the screening committee will weed down the 15 applications to, let's say, 10. And then, I believe it's the second or third week of May, they'll interview the people for 45 minutes to an hour, and then they will forward 3 to 5 finalists to me for the next round of interviews, and then work with us for that. But I will not see anyone have any input.
Which is why it's so vital for community
Correct.
members to be on this committee with us.
Yeah, so
They're
if you're
really
watching,
shaping how we want
please.
the new director to be.
Yeah, so is this going out to the whole school community? Because
So when
Email.
Like,
I
just-
send the email out, I use...
Just the special ed community?
No, it's everyone. I send the email out through the distribution list that we have through the one call. So the same thing we do when I do snow announcements, when I do newsletter announcements, that email went out for the, tomorrow's meeting, I think I sent it out Wednesday of last week and Monday of this week. And then I sent out on Monday of this week, Monday or Tuesday of this week, something to be on the search committee, and I'm going to send out another reminder tomorrow. And that's gone to the complete distribution list, so it's gone to all parents in all 4 buildings and all staff members in all 4 buildings. So not just special ed, regular ed, everyone.
Okay.
Every single parent, that's on the distribution list. If you didn't add your email address or your phone number to it, then
Yeah.
you didn't get it. But if you're on the distribution list and you've been getting the snow calls and...
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause,
Yeah.
Yeah.
most people are,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you reach out to either Lois or somebody in the special ed office? Just make sure that it goes out to the out-of-district distribution list, because they don't get the snow date announcements
don't?
and stuff like that. I don't know. Because you don't get the paper to fill out, in your first day of school packets. So I don't
That's a good
want,
one. Okay, I'll talk to Lois tomorrow and send that out.
I apologize, I didn't think about
Yeah.
that earlier.
No worries.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the school business and operations manager's report.
I do not have any transfers or reclassifications this evening, and Lauren did include the budget that wasn't included the last time, the
Yep.
budget report, but that is really outdated. So the next meeting, I will be, because we need all those other things, they weren't all posted, so all the reclass and transfers when those are posted, so I'll bring that on May 17th. But at least you have something, but it'll be updated again at the next meeting. With all those changes from the 4 things we did at the last meeting.
It's very detailed.
Anything else, Courtney?
No, for this evening.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Any topics not anticipated?
You don't have any?
So, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
I move to close the school committee meeting of Wednesday, April 26th at 7:42 PM.
Motion made by Beth, seconded by? Julie. Seconded by Julie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Or good evening, everyone. Thank you.